Okay, brilliant. So welcome to Exhibit 54. I am here this evening at the Black History Expo in Belfast, Ireland, with Orla McKeating, representing Still Arise. To be honest, an amazing book company, which I'm hoping she's going to explain a little bit more about. So Orla, please introduce yourself, introduce your company, introduce, I guess, what you're doing, and let the people understand what it is that you do.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. So my name is Orla McKeating, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the founder of Still Arise Diversity Storytelling. So I am a white Catholic Irish woman. I grew up during the Troubles in the 80s and 90s in Belfast, and so whenever I was growing up, it was very much Catholic, Protestant, all white. I lived in Belgium for 10 years and I became pregnant and moved home heavily pregnant to have my son here. Being brought up as a Catholic woman, we were kind of instilled with Catholic values as well. One of them was involved being an unmarried mother, which was frowned upon.
Yeah.
So I kind of really felt the stigma of becoming a single mother here on the island of Ireland and didn't think about bringing up a black son. So my son is biracial, he's Congolese-Belgian-Irish. And whenever I had him, the first thing I noticed was a lack of representation in children's books and learning resources. And so I became fascinated by the impact that would have on him and on other underrepresented groups. So I did a TEDx talk in 2019 in Stormont about the stigma of single parenting in Northern Ireland and race issues. And I talked about representation and the impact that would have on underrepresented and minoritized groups. And people emailed asking for book lists, which I didn't have at the time. So I set up Still Arise Diversity Storytelling in 2019. It was a passion project. We met in person in Belfast. We literally to create trusted spaces to amplify voices, to bridge gaps and to foster empathy and to learn through stories, through inclusive stories. So we brought it online in 2020 during lockdown. With partnerships and collaborations, we developed workshops, training, and now we supply books to libraries, community organisations, schools, and
One of the things I wanted to ask, you talked about representation. What do you think, I guess, would have been the main issues or main challenges that your son would have faced if he was to continue to grow up, I guess, with the lack of proper representation, whether it be people that he sees on TV, the books that he reads?
I think the world that we live in now, there would be a huge aspect of othering. So I think it would have really impacted his sense of belonging. So if he's always other, if he's always the one that looks different and he doesn't have role models, he doesn't have authentic stories and real representation, then that in turn, I suppose, would affect his self-esteem, his sense of worth, and then like mental health across the board. In terms of then community as well, being able to connect, being able to see what's possible, and being able to inspire him to do things that without representation would he really have the belief to be able to do that. So I suppose belonging, identity, understanding, community.
No, that's a great answer. And also, I guess, because essentially I wanted to see what your experience is as a white individual. I know I'll keep going back to colour. How you'd use that to kind of maybe positively impact his son in a way where he doesn't feel that lack of self-worth. He doesn't feel that lack of, motivation, I guess, to become who he can become.
I would say without centering the white experience, that like I am the demographic of women I need to influence. So white middle class women of privilege typically raise the sons, raise the CEOs, typically are the main caregivers. And we're really problematic because we're obsessed with niceness, we're obsessed with being liked, we're obsessed with fitting in a community. And so the way that it's going a wee bit deep.
No, carry on. I enjoy talking about this.
Okay, so the way that we contribute and we uphold to white supremacy and racism is present all around us. So the work that I do started off with learning through stories inspired by my son's experience in our world, but actually where I am now is unpacking and dissecting my own white supremacy, because I grew up thinking that racism was a burning cross or thugs shouting aggressive language. But actually it's all around us. It's our boardrooms, it's our school classes, it's our curriculum, it's the conversations we have at home, it's the books we have at home, it's the things we listen to in the radio. So I have my own white women community where we dissect our own supremacy and how we uphold it.
How difficult is that for you, I guess, because for me personally, self-reflection is a challenging thing in any capacity, whether it be work, personal life. So of course you're talking about something that you've seen within yourself, which you thought, actually, I need to maybe work on that. What would you say has been the main thing that has been challenging as you've unpacked, I guess, white supremacy, as you've called it, and maybe some of the beliefs that you held from growing up within Ireland, especially with having a black son?
So I think it's an ongoing journey.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever complete it, obviously, but it's like the work that I'm doing, it's all continual learning. Like I will read books, go back to them, and it's like a good example is the term people of colour. Like everything we assume white is the default. White's a colour, so why whenever we say, it's not true though. So like why are we saying and normalising people of colour? We're just othering, we're making white the default, and we're upholding white supremacy. So that's one, like, so whenever I see things like this, it's like you can't unsee that learning. So what do I do with that as a human? Whether I have a black son, whether I have a black friend, whether I think I'm anti-racist or not, what am I actually doing about it? So if I'm hanging out here and someone is disrespectful to a black woman or says some casual racism or a microaggression, do I speak up or do I sit there? What is true advocacy? What is true allyship? Because it's not walking in a rally, it's not joining a working group in the workplace, it's doing sustainable actions every single day. Because it's like, there's a really good story that I use in some of my sessions, and it's about two fish in water, right? So the two young fish are swimming along the water, and an older fish comes along and says, how's the water? And they're like, what water? And that's what I think racism is. It is everywhere. And so what do we do about it? And it is uncomfortable and it is challenging. And I have been come at in rooms, because I'm a speaker as well, I've been come at by white people because they're like, how dare you, you're belittling me, you're doing this and that and the other. And that's not nice, because I do have my white woman need to be liked and need to be popular, which I'm trying to let go of. But ultimately, I mean, we'll never do enough. And the conversations, the most difficult conversations are with family and close friends. It's easy for me to have a conversation with other white women who are interested, but the people who don't see it yet or think that they're doing loads of advocacy work, but they're actually not. White women in EDI and corporates, why is it all white women? In Black History Month and any diverse events, why is the panel not completely global majority black or brown people? It's not good enough. Anti-racism rallies, why are there white speakers? We don't have room for white speakers. We don't have experience in racism. We'll never experience it. We have challenges, like obviously with privilege, it doesn't mean we don't have hardships or challenges, but it means that we will not face the barriers. We will not walk in our world and feel unsafe. We will never feel the feeling of being followed around a shop, by being fearful going through security. So it's all of those things that I only know because I have a black son, where I need to prep him like at 9 years old on his human rights going through airport security. Like, you know, people don't know this. Like, you know, like, so how do we have the conversations in a way where it's like, I'm going to tell you this, my white people, and you do what you see fit. Here's the data, here's the facts. You say you want to raise inclusive kids, you're a teacher, you want to make change. Show me every day. And that's where community is amazing, because it can look like none of us have time. Like, and again, this is another typical like crazy busy white woman, like I'm doing a million things. You have enough time to scroll on Instagram or TikTok for half an hour. How can you use that time and really dissect what we uphold?
I mean, it's refreshing to hear your views, to be honest. I think it's been a while since I've done it. But I wanted to maybe take it first. I wanted you to maybe mention 3 to 5 things which you would encourage people to maybe do to help in educating themselves and actually becoming a little bit better, and how aware they are of the social dynamic, I guess, in today's world. Yeah.
So I think education's a key piece, right? We've never had more access to resources. So we can go on Google, we don't need minoritized, underrepresented people to educate us. We just don't. We can follow, so that would be the first one, educate yourself continually, step into that discomfort, find books, resources, follow public figures online, follow influencers online who have that lived experience, cultural lived experience, racial lived, whatever that looks like, and amplify those voices. So it's not up to a majority race or faith or gender identity, whatever that looks like, to speak for another group. Really actively listen and amplify those voices. And then I would say step into the discomfort, because it's a really challenging journey, but
it's like anything, doesn't it? With self-reflection or self-improvement, it is painful.
It is wild because like it took me having a black son to realise how racist the world is. How do we like? I was that person who was, I don't see colour. I was that person who was like, no, I can't be racist. I've got a black boyfriend. Like, I am that cringe Karen Becky.
No,
and I think it's really important that we talk about this because I think we're all Karens and Beckys because we all have those things and it shouldn't be offensive. It just is. What are we doing about it? So educate, amplify minoritized voices and step into the discomfort.
Brilliant. And I wanted you to maybe talk about the books, obviously, that you sell, how you curate them, and really the ambitions that you have for your website and the mission that you have, I suppose, to spread the word with the books.
So we, Still Arise Diversity Storytelling, we started off with Learning Through Story sessions as a passion project. And then during lockdown, so we developed workshops, training, and now we sell our own books. So sometimes it looks like using the books for learning. So using them as learning tools. So this one's a really good one. Our Story Starts in Africa by Patrice Lawrence. And it's all about a biracial girl going to her family in Africa and kind of the narrative of where she belongs. But it also touches on a little bit of African hair, African culture. It touches on enslavement in a really child-appropriate way. So this one's a really good book for learning, literally from early years right up. I do love this, This one has quite a lot of cultures in it. Less words, so really good to start the conversation about cultures, dress, food. And then Hey You's by one of my favourite illustrators. So that's Dapo Adiola. And he got together lots of contributors, and it's really black empowerment, what it means to be black, how we can do better as a black person, so as black communities. So I would my son would read that quite a lot for empowerment and just loving himself as a black boy.
Brilliant. No, thank you very much, Orla. I mean, to be fair, all the work that you're doing, I think it signifies the importance of cultures coming together, because I think with any work that we do, whether it be in racism, I mean, we've got wars going on, it's not one thing that a black individual or white individual or Asian individual can solve themselves. So I think these kind of conversations where people are coming together, mixing cultures and accepting each other for who we are, ultimately loving each other for what we bring, I guess, to the table. I think it's brilliant what you're doing. So I know obviously you talked about your experience of having a black child, but I think this conversation which you're willing to have and the depth in which you were willing to obviously assess yourself, it's magnificent. But have a look at Still Arise. Wonderful books. Orla, a magnificent person, as you can see from what she's saying. Check out our website, check her out on socials. I'll put all the links in the description. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much, Orla.
Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.